Cherries, it's Jessica here, and welcome to our December YouTube Hop. This month's theme is anything Christmas, holidays, winter. It's just getting festive for this time of year. So I will be using one of my new favorite die stencil stamp sets, and it's the Ornaments from Pink Fresh Studios. And I've already used this set quite a bit, but I haven't used it on a layout yet. Mostly what I've been using it with is cards. So I wanted to make a whole bunch of these ornaments and create a layout with it. For today's project, I'm using the new Sizzix stencil and stamp tool, and that comes in a lot of handy for a project like this. I am using clear embossing powder, and I inked my stamp and actually stamped it twice on my page because with embossing powders, or the inks, I never know that it really showed up good enough because it's clear. So I like to just do it twice just to make sure. And then I sprinkled on my embossing powder. This is some gold, and I like to go through with a paintbrush to just push away any of the powder that I don't want. So stamping is just the first step in using this set. So I first stamped it, and now I'm going to use some ink and blend it up. You could also do the stenciling part first and then stamp the embossing powder on top of it afterwards. I just decided to do it this way just because. So with using this tool, if you're using one of the Sizzix brand layering stencils, they already have these holes in the top, but because this isn't a Sizzix brand stencil, it's Pink Fresh, I added one of the Sizzix adapters on it. So after I stuck that on it, then I can just keep reusing and repositioning these, and each time I don't have to redo it. I actually used these on another video too, so I will link that in the description below if you want to see a little bit more how I did it and how to use this tool even more. But as you can see, I've got it already lined up, so I don't have to change my paper positioning after each time. So I'm just adding on my ink, and then how I have been doing it for this project at least is I grabbed a wet cloth. It's just more of a damp cloth, and then I am wiping off the excess. So when I do that, it takes the ink off of, for one, the embossing that I did, so you can still see the gold through it, and it also lightens the ink more in the center and creates more of a gradient, which I also liked the look of. These layered stencils have 3 steps, and a lot of times when I'm doing this I like to do 3 colors that are similar, so I'll do a light red or pink, and then medium red, and then a dark red. This time I decided to throw in a blue, a light blue in the base. When you're mixing color types, just be careful because sometimes you can get weird browns, but also just experiment, and if you don't like it, just start over and make another one. There were a few color combinations that I made with making all of these that I didn't really love, and that's no big deal because I'll just make another set. I think they're so fun to do these, and I love seeing how they come together at the end. And when I am done with my stencil and stamp tool, I put the protector back on my sticky sheet just so that sticky sheet will last longer. And now it's time to create my background. I went back and forth a lot on whether I wanted a green background or a white background, but I decided to make a watercolor background on my 12 by 12 watercolor paper, and I wanted to do this because I wanted to make it look like a tree, well, or at least reference a tree for my ornaments to be hanging on. And I'm using the Distress Oxides in the colors Rustic Wilderness, Pine Needles, and Evergreen Bough. I really like creating backgrounds like this because they're one of a kind, it's super quick and easy, and they're not so stark. They have the nice light look of watercolors, which I love. I am documenting this group of photos from when my cousins and I created this voluptuous snow woman for my grandma. It was a little bit as a joke, but she really loved it and it was pretty funny. So I wanted to document this. And so I have the main group photo as the big photo, and then I have some photos of the snow woman on the side. She's wearing a little tiny bikini and a hula skirt. And so we just thought it was cute and it was funny. And like I said, Grandma loved it. Now was the hard part of having to scale back on all of these ornaments. I wanted to use all of them, but it just was too much and I had to scale back a lot. So I'll be able to make quite a few more Christmas cards using the left ornaments that I'd created. The title Snow Woman for Grandma has two different types of letters. The Snow Woman is die cut out from some alpha dies, and I die cut them out on some Sizzix Opulent cardstock in gold. It's really beautiful cardstock. I highly recommend it for die cutting or backgrounds. And then the For Grandma part is from Doodlebug. It's some of their alphabet soup puffy stickers. Once I had started laying it out, I thought that the background could use a little bit more, and so I decided to stamp on some tree branches on the back. And this also helped make it look like it's a tree in the back. And to make sure that I liked the look of it first, I stamped where I knew I was going to place the photo on top of. And this is also my first test one where, because I knew I wanted to blend it out a little bit into the background using a wet paintbrush, so I could test it on this part of my background without any worry. So using those spaces that you know will get covered up to test things out is a great technique that could save you a background. And then, of course, I couldn't help myself, but I had to add some splatters. I think it just adds a nice, fun look to this page. And all of my photos are popped up on foam tape, and I love the dimension that this adds. I almost always pop up my photos because I want them to be the focal point and the highest thing on the page to extra draw your eyes to them. I actually got some of my ink on my main photo towards the end, so I had to end up reprinting it. So if you're doing mixed media, hide the photos away. I get paint on my photos all the time, and I always say this, but I still don't listen to myself. But hide your photos and save them, especially if they're not photos you can just easily reprint. So like I said, this video is for our December YouTube hop. So if you leave a comment on this video and also on our design team videos, whose links will all be in the description below, you will be entered to win a $15 Cherry on Top gift card. So have fun hopping around. There's always so many great techniques, and I love watching these hops. I get so inspired from them. So I hope you guys do too, and make sure you leave a comment for a chance to win. Now I am deciding where I want to place my ornaments. Instead of just having them all over the place, I decided to just put a few clusters here and there. And although I wanted to use as many of these ornaments as I could, it just made this page way too busy. So editing down is sometimes tricky but needed. And all of these ornaments I also popped up using some cherry foam dots. I'd also love it if you let me know in the comments what is something that you struggle with scrapbooking. For me, it is the editing down. There's so many pretty things and I just want to add all of them. I do it all the time and then I'm like, no, I don't like this, and I end up tearing things apart off of my layout. So luckily with this one, I was thinking of that instead of first gluing down all of my ornaments, and then I was like, nope, too much, and rip them up. So that's just one thing that I I always do with my scrapbook layouts. And now I am working on adding some of these little stars and shimmer bursts on my background, and I'm doing this with, again, the embossing ink and the embossing powder so that my background has some of this gold shimmer as well. After I was done adding all of the embossing powder that I want, I also added some pearl gems. These are from Graphic 45. I'm really glad that I finally documented this story. This is from last year's Christmas, but usually after Christmas I don't feel like doing Christmas things anymore, but it leaves me something to do for the following year's Christmas. Like now I am all in the Christmas spirit, so I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope it's inspired you or given you some ideas on how to document your Christmas layouts or holiday or however you celebrate. So make sure to check out the other videos in the hop. And as always, thanks for watching.